So, folks, I'm Dave.
I'm Sean.
And we're back from our break. We have Kevin and Dave here from Mad Symphony. And just on the break, we're talking a little bit about the Next Door video. And I think that's your latest video. Is that right?
That's our latest and only video that's professionally, 4K shot and edited together. Our other videos are more just kind of, we did a pandemic video for Reality Check where we all were in self-isolation at the beginning when we were all in our own basement. So we were a little ahead of our time. We came up with that 6-square video where we're all playing in our own little areas and mixed it together. So
we based it on the Brady Bunch.
It was a big project where we needed props and a space and a film crew. We had the whole 9 yards for that, which was great.
What we were talking about there was like, I really appreciate the comedic relief or this. It was fun to watch the video. Like it captivated you the whole way through, which is nice because you don't see a lot of people spend much time on videos anymore. And to your point earlier, Dave, like we were talking about this earlier, Kevin, when it was an event to go buy an album. And you get so much out of the album, the artwork and the credits and the lyrics, and it was a big deal. But then when the video age came around, you didn't have to go. Well, you still have to go see your band in concert for sure, but you could watch the guy do the guitar licks. You could watch, what they were doing on the drum fills, and you could learn how to play the song along when the videos came. And I haven't seen that in a long time. I really appreciate your video.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, it was a quick 2-day shoot. Like we did the first day, all the stuff where you see us all in the room, that's with the studio where we rehearsed. That's our keyboard player's place, Mike Russell. And so we shot all that in the one day. And then the next day we went to a friend of Dave's mechanic garage and shot all the game show stuff, so put the whole set up and then did the whole game show stuff. And it was, some of the funniest stuff is like Dave gets his head chewed off by the killer bunny, and people are, so everyone's spinning wheels and so anyway, it was a fun day too. And but yeah, it was all done in 2 days.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, time is money. I'll joke around here, boys. We're no corporate sellouts here on Barstools and Bandtalk, as you can see, but you do need a
Coors Light.
Right, there you go.
Mine's a no-name brand. I could show you what it is,
but my point is, in this day and age, and we were talking just kind of off camera about record deals and how the business has changed. Yeah. How much of what you guys did before you get signed, like obviously you're putting your own money into it, but how much of maybe what you did to kind of get those demos done were good enough because we just don't have the wherewithal to do it or the funds to do it, and you know what I mean? Like how much of that was just kind of good enough where you finally get to the point where okay, somebody's going to give us a hand here or a hand up to
well, we were really fortunate in that our other guitar player Ted Tossoff has sort of a side business where he's got his own little studio and he's an engineer, so yeah. He had all the equipment. We've been recording over at Ted's for a few years. So basically the album is all the demos we did and then just kept polishing over time. Like we could have Wes come back and redo the drums to a new part or whatever, or touch up things. So we didn't have to, it was mostly just time and effort was our capital. We didn't have to lay out a lot of money, but only because we happen to have a brilliant engineer producer with a studio in the band.
That's right. Everything is done in-house.
I couldn't imagine how, just trying to do cheap demos like we used to, and then having to go back into a studio for, a couple $100 an hour for whatever,
Because basically everything you hear on the album is basically the demo, right? It's just all the original recordings and then fixing a few things up or whatever, and then having stuff remixed by a third party, Delwyn Brooks. Right. But yeah, all that stuff was done all in-house, and even the video editing was all done in-house too.
Well, here's the thing though, and we're 4 men all in our, I'm going to say mid-30s, correct? We'll go with that. Right. That we would remember the days of the 4-track and pinging tracks around. Oh, yeah. And trying to.
Oh, the old ping. Yeah. Ping. Right?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like you can go in your bedroom with Pro Tools. If you got a patch bay, you can literally do 2112. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And you try to explain to these kids back in the day before punch-ins. I mean, again, I'm a drummer, and I remember Lars Ulrich talking about punching in, and I remember you'd record, and if the song was 4 minutes and 52 seconds and you screwed it up at 4:37, you were starting over, right?
That's right.
So, I mean, it's cool that you guys actually had that ability to go in and you had somebody that had the gear, had the resources, but I'm going to guess you were able to get those tunes, you know, humming along the way you wanted them to. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have our initial demos where we first write the song and we kind of do basic tracks, and then we all will listen to what we're doing and think about, you know, what we actually want it to sound, the finished product to sound like. So generally, for me, I do 3 or 4 revisions. I might do the solo 2 or 3 times, or do a couple different guitar solos and choose the best one, or whatever, mix them together. But the main thing is we had the time to be as creative as we wanted and not feel rushed about it.
Of course, during COVID, there was no rush.
There's no.
Fair enough.
We had all the time to write songs, but we wanted to get the album out, and and we still have a bunch of stuff in the can that's ready to be released. Right? It's mastered and ready to go. So we're just
waiting for the industry to turn around a little bit. Yeah,
it's a perfect segue, because really, really wanted to do next, guys, is ask a little bit about the history of Mad Symphony, when you started, like how you all met. Then I kind of want to get some bullet points on the band. What your proudest moments were, like what your biggest achievement has been, and what's next. So if we don't mind, can we start a little bit with the history? Like, how long have y'all been together for?
Dave can answer that, because they started it.
Well, Wes was playing with Ted in a bluesy kind of band called Brad Curtis and the Sometimes Six. This must have been about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And Wes called me and said, "Oh, we're looking for a guitar player to play some guitar solos on our studio album. So why don't you come down? Our guitar player's leaving. He's going up north for work or something." So Wes, being one of my oldest musical friends, you know, whenever he's always been there when I called him, like I needed a drummer for a project or something, I would always go, "Oh, I'll see what Wes is up to," right? Because he's very dependable and he's a great drummer. So he called me and I went and checked it out, and I ended up playing with Ted and Wes in this thing. And then, so we did this record with Brad, and it was kind of more of a bluesy, rootsier sort of rock thing. It's a little different for me. I just kind of went back to my roots, because I'm more of a heavy metal guitarist, you know, Van Halen, Randy Rhoads.
I saw that flying V in the video, brother. I saw that flying V in the video.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my flying V's back there too.
Oh, there it is.
So we did all that. Wes got me down, and then once we started, me and Ted and Wes just started writing, and our stuff was more like what Wes and I were into, more heavy guitar-based rock, and we kind of realized it wasn't going to work with what we were doing, and it was going to be its own newer thing. So we set about demoing, the 3 of us. We just sat in Ted's studio, even if we had no riffs, and we would just run tape and jam. And we pretty much had like 20 musical ideas very quickly of songs that were, you know, musically 3 or 4 riffs. And then we started writing lyrics and melodies and all that stuff too, just so we didn't know who was going to sing.
Who's going to sing? Who?
We had no idea. We just knew that we were writing some good songs, and once we had, you know, like 10 songs kind of recorded, it was like we had a couple different singers talk to us. We had a couple guys come in and do demos, and then we heard of Kevin, or Ted did. He heard of Kevin through another friend, and he got a hold of a demo Kevin had done. It was kind of a heavier sound, and there was some stuff was a little Marilyn Manson sounding, which I really liked. I thought,
oh really?
That's great. Yeah. So anyway, we got Kevin in one day. He finally came down, and me and Ted were sitting there, and we kind of just threw this song at him that we just recorded. And actually, I had never really heard the song either, and just Kevin came in, and a couple hours later he walked out. We had the whole thing done, guitar solos, everything. And that's the song called Nothing is actually on our CD.
Yeah.
And the version you hear is actually the one Kevin recorded that first day.
Wow.
Yeah, I just walked into Ted's place and he said, well, here's how the song goes. And yeah, just walked in and laid it down, and that's what you hear on the album. So, and then we just kept going from there. So these guys had a bunch of songs written by the time, you know, I got in the band, and a lot of lyrics too. So a lot of the lyrics I had like even nothing to do with because they were all done. And so, but I you know, so, you know, we had a process of going in with Ted and just going through, you know, verse by verse, figure out melodies, laying down everything, laying it all down, and coming up with the finished product. So that's sort of the process that's worked for us ever since. So.
Yeah.
So we got,
And once we had all the songs together, it was kind of the four of us. Then like, oh, we need to go play a show. We're going to need a bass player, right? And then
I guess so. Yes.
I always
these guys knew of Amrit.
And Amrit, our bass player, is actually another guy that I played with back in the 90s. We were in a original band called Tin Pan together. He played in my Ozzy Osbourne Black Sabbath tribute, you know, back in 1995. So we have a long history. So it's very comfortable when we all get together to play. There's no awkwardness or weirdness. We've already. And
then everyone's like, let's bring in some keyboards. Let's make it a 6-piece, right? So of course, so we bring in Mike Russell, who Dave plays in with Nick Gilder and Sweeney Todd in that band, with him and Mike play in that band together. So that was a connection as well. And so Mike came in, so that was the 6-piece after that, and then we've just been going like that ever since. So,
I was just about to say, Kevin, make sure you get your 1 or 2 changes so you can get your SoCan royalties in there, right? That's any good musical lawyer will tell you that. Hey, Dave, and I'm meaning Dave down here. I don't like that last lyric, and I don't like this one and this one, and then you can sign your name on it, and all of a sudden you're cashing.
Oh yeah, we've got all our percentages already in SoCan. It's all done. Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, so what about the bullets then, guys?
Nothing, still nothing, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the pinnacles of the career so far with Mad Symphony.
Well, I think, you know, just being able to finally, once we had all these songs rehearsed and written, and is just the goal is to present them to people and play a show. So our pinnacle, I guess, was the one and only show we did, which was in September of 2019.
Yeah.
We had a follow-up gig booked it was in March of the following year. And of course, the COVID pandemic came in at the same time, and it was basically canceled with about 3 days to spare. We were getting right to the gig, and I think the gig was on a Saturday, and on Wednesday they told us,
that's right.
All the nightclubs are shut down now because of COVID.
Yeah. So we were coming out of the gates. We were like, we'd written all these songs. We were coming out of the gates. We were ready to do it. We did our first show. We were ready to do our second show. Like Dave said, it got canceled like 3 days before at the Roxy downtown Vancouver here. Okay. And that gig is now being redone on October 16th coming up.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
So we're booked at 50% capacity.
That's all right.
With double vaxxed people with their card and all that kind of stuff.
We'll take it.
So here's what they're doing out here, and I don't know if they're going to do the same thing there, but so we've been promoting shows, and I mean, it's reduced capacity, but everything's selling out because people want to get out there. I keep saying to people, it's like watching Elvis in Vegas 73. Everybody's politely sitting at their table, sipping on martinis and golf clapping, but they're paying attention to the band.
Yeah.
And what's happening is anybody that didn't do their homework and didn't try to get better and improve is going to get called out in a hurry because people are paying attention now. They're not just dancing. They want to see what's what, right? And I mean, it separates the men and ladies from the boys and the women, right?
Well, the bar has been raised. The bar has been raised for sure. To Sean's point, you had enough time, and if you're all double backs or you're in your little bubble, you know, you had the opportunity to rehearse and to build something great. And if you can present that live and you can emote it live, well, then that's what's going to make you again different from the others. So I'm looking forward to hearing some live stuff from Mad Symphony for sure.
We're very excited to do this show because, you know, it's been a real drag just not having a gig to look forward to even.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we came out of the gates, you know, we got our first show under our belt. We got a record deal, which, you know, is what it is. You know, it's not a huge record deal, but it's something that's been getting us global recognition. And then, but we can't play. So, you know, we've been sitting around since the pandemic, just rehearsing, writing, getting all that stuff together, and just like going, damn, we should be on tour, you know? So, but that hasn't happened. So we'll see when that ends up happening, you know, because we've been getting a lot of really good reviews from like all around the world, and a lot of good radio airplay as well. So we can't wait to get out to those audiences live, right?
Here's what's going to happen, fellas, and we went through the same thing, and then we finally had that first show, and it was two things. One, it was, I mean, I never get nervous. You know, I always pride myself on being prepared. It was fun. It seemed like it went way too quickly, and then it was just like, oh my God, you know, it's like riding a bike, and it was the best thing. And that you guys are going to feel that, and you're probably, you know, you're going to start, and I mean, I don't know how long your shows are. If you do, you know, a 90-minute set or a few sets, you're going to do your first one, and by the end, like your last one's it's going to seem like it's streamed by like lightning speed. You're going to go like, it sucks, it's over. But there'll be more, right? Yeah, and that's what you'll find.
Yeah.
So, are you doing this full time, fellas, or what's your gigs?
Well, I do, because I make my living as a musician and a producer with a few different projects, which, you know, I don't know whether I want to get into all of them or whatever, but I've got, you know, my partner Holly and I are musicians and producers, and we do music in schools, we do music on other projects and all that kind of stuff. And over the last couple of decades, we were able to make a living at it doing that. So nice. I've been very fortunate to, you know, of course, Mad Symphony isn't you know, that yet. Hopefully there is a yet. And but yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I have been fortunate to be able to do it, and, you know, on many different levels, as a video producer and an audio producer and a event producer and school music programs and things like that. So, but more details to come later if you were interested.
I've been doing the Nick Gilder, Sweeney Todd tours. I also play in a Van Halen tribute called Fair Warning, which we've done a couple shows locally over the last few months since things have started opening up. And we actually did a couple shows on the prairies in the last couple months. I went out to Saskatoon for Rock the River last month with Nick Gilder. And then we also went to just out of Edmonton and did a show there. So there's been a couple good gigs in the last month for me anyway. It was fun just to get out of town, and of course Alberta had the We're Open for Summer program, which was how we got to go out, and it was, you know, it was a good event. There was thousands of people, you know, outdoors, but there was no restrictions really, I think, as far as health restrictions. But you know, it's good to be playing again, and this Mad Symphony gig in a couple weeks will probably be my 4th or 5th this year. So
they're coming back
after last year of not having any gig for a year and a half. Right?
Guys, we're excited for you to do that, because to Sean's point, it's like and we've built this whole website, our Barstools and Bandtalk site, about live entertainment, because you can never take that away. And I'm hoping that you guys get the opportunity to come out east, you know, go down to the States, go to Europe, whatever it's going to be. And I listen to your stuff, if you don't mind me asking, some of your influences, they kind of, Kevin, you sound a little bit like Stephen Pearcy. I had a little bit of a Stephen Pearcy thing that
Oh, yeah, okay. That's funny. That's not the first time I've heard that. Okay. But of course, I've heard everything.
Yeah.
So who are your influences?
I've heard everybody. Well, my early influence, like in the 80s, I really loved LA Guns and Faster Pussycat and bands like that. I was really into Sleaze and Motley Crue and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you know, I love guys like, you know, Steve Perry, and I love guys like you know, David Coverdale. I love guys like, you know, like all the great singers, you know, like, you know, Robert Plant, and, you know, just, so there's so many, it's hard to say who my main influences were, but I mean, when I was younger, it was like guys like Ozzy and, you know, stuff like that. And so it just, there's so many to choose from that all have, like, I've really been into. So
I think Kevin's got a little bit of a tone like that guy from Buck Cherry sometimes. You know, I heard our first song when we came out of the studio with that demo for nothing. I was like, wow, Kevin really sounds like Buck Cherry on this one, which was a compliment. I mean, that guy's great.
Oh, he's great. He's got the raunch, and you know, sometimes I've got the raunch, and sometimes like some songs like I come up super clean, right? So it just depends on the tune, but you know, I don't try to sound like anything. I just do what the tune calls for, and that's what comes out. Right?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because it's like, you know, I talk to people all the time, and I mean, like, to what you're saying, Kevin, I mean, I was an LA hair metal guy. I mean, I lived it and loved it. And that led me to, you know, Bonham, because I mean, when he passed away, I wasn't even old enough to remember it. However, you know, and I always say, I play the same 7 licks over and over, just in different ways. But the point is, all your influences kind of get chucked into a blender, and they come out, they sound like you, and you can go, it's this guy or that guy. But I picked up on what Dave said, and I did want to kind of, and Dave McPherson about the Piercy thing for sure. But who would have been some of the guys like that you really would have, I guess, you know, went in the woodshed and listened to maybe emulate or listen, like learn from?
For me, if I did pick the top 3 singers of my favorite singers, I would think Klaus Meine from Scorpions, Bon Scott, and Ronnie James Dio.
Nice.
Good choices.
That's my 3.
That'll get you to heaven. That'll get you to heaven. Now, Dave, I'm presuming you already said, and I'm presuming Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads. Who else for you?
Well, Alex Lifeson. And of course the greats. I had a guitar. I was lucky when I first started guitar. I was like 12 or 13. I went to the local music store and took lessons, and I learned how to pluck an E, F, and a G on an E string, or learned how to sight read music, actually, which was not useful anymore, but it taught me how to count time and that sort of thing. I'm glad I learned it. You know, people don't really learn that a lot in guitar anymore. But anyway,
no, you're right.
I had this kind of long-haired hippie-ish guy. It kind of started turning me on to David Gilmour licks.
Okay.
Showing me Richie Blackmore.
Yep.
You know, that's what he was into. And then I had him try and teach me some Pat Travers. I was a real big Pat Travers fan, and still am. And I listen to every guitar player. I know them all. I know.
So here's what I'm hearing, Dave.
I can play tons of Pink Floyd. I could play Led Zeppelin. I play it all. But
Dave's pretty diverse. Yeah.
Here's what I'm hearing, Dave. Now, and I'm sorry if I offend, but based on what Sean and Kevin said, they probably got laid more than you and I did, because they were into the LA scene. The girls love that stuff. I didn't get it. I was a Rush fan, the same thing as you were. You know.
Rush fan. Yeah.
Rush bands never got.
Hey, I mean, there's Rush and everybody else. You know, but I joke around, and Dave, Kevin, you'll definitely appreciate this, but Dave, you'll go, I'm really funny. But I have a friend that I grew up with that was, again, he was a shredder player, and he used to obsess over stuff, and he'd practice. And I'd be like, you're trying to get technically proficient for 10 dudes. Right? And I mean, that's it, right? And it's like, okay, you know what? You're
not going to get laid by them. Not going to get laid.
Exactly.
But if we go over here, this is where the beer and the fun is, right? I know real musicians hate that, but my point was, it's like, true. You know what I'm saying, right? So
I was a fan of the British rock scene, the British metal stuff. You know, Sean was one of the LA scene. It's like, wow, but it's working better for him. Later, I finally realized, then I joined his band. It worked out afterwards, but it took me a while to figure it out.
But at the end of the day, and you all agree with this, that era had some great songs. I mean, I still listen to Hair Nation. I mean,
the best. That
stuff still stands up, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you can't beat any of that. No, and kids today will never know that.
Absolutely.
Well, unless they listen to Mad Symphony, they're going to get a taste of it, because I mean, it's not. And we talked to, Sean's point, we talked to a lot of people in this show in the last year and a half, and there is some really cool throwback stuff, but yours doesn't sound throwback. It sounds relevant. It sounds new. It sounds fresh.
Yeah,
you know, you hear some stuff.
It's got elements that are retro, or maybe from the songwriting arrangement style, but but you know, recognizable as rock. But we try and throw, you know, little surprises and twists in there along the way, just to keep it interesting for us and the listener.
That's right. We like to keep it, you know, we like to think that it's got a little bit of a modern sound to it, but with hints of the throwback. Like every time we write a new song, it's like, oh, that feels like Def Leppard, Led Zeppelin, and Motley Crue. All make, you know, and then the bit, you know, it keeps happening, and then we just laugh and laugh and laugh because we know it's true. and analyze it down to the year of genre or something. Yeah, this one's a mixture between Journey and Black Sabbath, right?
But you know what? My hat's off to you, boys, because I mean, I've always been I like what I like, I don't what I don't. And there's been some new stuff. The whole 90s thing for me kind of was, you know, I was kind of into Pearl Jam. I liked Alice in Chains. Anything beyond that just kind of sounded to me like, you know, everybody was trying to be Eddie Vedder, and I'm
exactly with you on that. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Soundgarden got to be one of the bright lights there.
Absolutely. I would 100%
Cornell, of
agree.
course.
I don't even know what happened in the year 2000. I don't even remember what happened in the year 2000. Like
yeah, there's a big
Black Eyed Peas, maybe. Like I don't.
Obi.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what?
I'm looking forward to hearing that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, thank God, like a band like Pantera kind of bubbled up, because I mean, that was a band for me that, you know, just doing almost Southern rock metal. You know what I mean? Like they had
in the early 90s.
They had a good take on it, and they actually are one of the few bands of that genre to have a #1 album.
Absolutely, right? And they had that swagger and that swing.
That actually went to #1, which was the one after Vulgar Display.
So I think what needs to happen at some point is these four gentlemen need to somehow get in a room. Maybe we'll meet in Toronto, and because we all seem like we're on the same page in terms of, you know, styles, influences, and what have you.
We could jam.
Yeah.
There you go.
Love that. So okay, so Dave's posted some of the material. I don't want to forget that Ed Oakley is a guy that has been pounding. Frank Oakley. I apologize. Ed Oakley's another friend of ours. Frank's been pounding me about getting you guys on, and I apologize it's taken so long. Now that we have you on, where do the people that are watching the show go and find you, source your material, buy CDs, get merch? Where are they going to find you?
Just on our website, basically, madsymphony.ca.
All right there.
It's all connected. It's all connected. And we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. So just look around. You can Google us, and like I just Googled us the other day, and I found like, you know, I Googled us like a month ago, and there were like, you know, 2 pages of Mad Symphony stuff, and then it started to fade off into some other stuff. I Googled us like a couple days ago, and there's like 5 pages of stuff now. It's just like, you know, because when we first got on with MR Records, they hooked us up with a really good publicist. What's his name?
Mike Brandvold.
Mike Brandvold, who's worked with Kiss, and the list goes on and on and on.
He is amazing. He's amazing. He's
amazing, Michael Brandvold, and he got us out of the gates like nobody's business. And so, but yeah, so we're out there, but you can find us. You can just Google or go to our website and all that kind of stuff, and it's quite easy to find now.
And hopefully, we'll be coming to a city near you soon.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that Journey's Black Sabbath cover tune now, the "Don't Stop Sweet Leaves" tune.
Oh yeah, "Don't Stop Sweet Leaves."
Yeah, I like that.
In the meantime, gentlemen, what I would like to do, if we can, and Dave, we're all going to be accountable here. You guys do your show on the 16th, and why don't we? And Kevin, you go on and book another one. I'd like to do maybe in a couple 3 weeks. Let's do another one of these and let we hear how it went, because I would love to.
Yeah.
You know,
hopefully we'll have some footage to show you.
Yeah, we'll have some footage. And
we'll definitely be videotaping some stuff for this.
Well, they're set up. The Roxy downtown Vancouver, they're set up for streaming and all that kind of stuff. So they got a pretty good setup. So we'll figure that out and see what we can get out of it. So
do me a favor, Kevin, go on and book that in about, I don't know, two weeks out maybe.
After the gig.
Yeah. Do the gig and then book it, and then let's do it again, because I'd love to hear how it goes.
No, that'd be great, man. I really appreciate it. And just so you guys know, Frank Oakley, who has been bugging you guys to get us on, he's the guy that sent that first song we were talking about, Nothing. he sent it down to Andrew McNeese at MR Records. It was Melodic Rock Records. He sent that song without us knowing. And then Andrew McNeese went, I want to hear more. So it's because of Frank that we even got the interest of those guys down there. So Frank says he likes to bug people on, but he's a fan of the band, and he's.
And you know what? He was very proud of that accomplishment, because he sent me a note probably, I'm thinking June or July, where he said, you know what, this is the first time that I pushed a band that this happened. He was very proud of it. And I apologize that it took us so long to get our collective crap in order. It's just been a lot on the go, but I'm very, 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 very looking forward to hearing how that gig goes on the 16th.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep you informed, and I'll book something a couple weeks out from that.
Please.
I'd love to chat to you guys again. This is thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah. David Groves and Kevin Wright from Mad Symphony. We sure appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming and spending some time with us. To Sean's point, I'd like to hear some more stuff after that show. Good luck, guys. Seriously, like I said, I love your stuff so far. I think our audience is going to love it too, and we're looking forward to seeing some new stuff from you.
Awesome, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sean and Dave. Barstools and Bandtalk. I like that jingle you guys do.
We might need a new song. We never know how that.
So just before we wrap, Bramble, he does a lot of stuff. He's been doing some stuff with RFL Records too that I work with.
Oh, okay.
He is amazing. That guy.
He is amazing.
Yeah,
he is amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. No, he's killer. He did a really good job for us.
I'm actually trying to get him on the show. He worked with Ozzy. He worked with Kiss. He worked with a lot of those guys.
Yes.
And he's the real deal, that fella. So
he is. Yeah. He's connected. That's for sure.
Right on, association, fellas.
I got to bounce. So Kevin,
you guys,
2 weeks from now, or sorry, the gig.
2 weeks from the 16th.
Call me.
Book something for 2 weeks after.
We'll hook it up. No, we'll hook it up.
We'll call your people. Yeah.
So I'll just go into that link and click the little thing, and
that's it.
Okay, man.
All right, brother.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, brother. It's good to know you. Good to meet you, and
we'll do it again.
Good show, and take care. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right.
See you
Peace
later.
out, fellas. Peace out.
All right, bud. Cheers.
Thanks.